And greetings, friends, and welcome back to Trenton 365. I'm your host, Jacque Howard, and you're checking me out over at WIMG 1300, New Jersey's oldest radio station and the five-time Stellar Gospel Award winning station as well. And if you don't know who or what the Stellars are, I encourage you to check them out. The Stellar Gospel Music Awards are similar to the Grammys for our industry. So winning it five times consecutively is off the charts amazing. Just imagine if you were a five-time Grammy winner, five-time champion in a sports event. You'd be getting some praise. So big shout out to the WIMG 1300 team and everything that they all have been doing for many, many years. I've been fortunate enough to be with them for about a decade, but they've been doing it way longer than me. And I totally think that it'll be happening when after I am gone from this plane. In the most recent segment, I talked a little bit about Jacque R.E.A.C.H. Again, all this is spelled out on the website, which is my name, Jacque, no S, Howard.com or Trenton 365. And for those of you who are adventurous, it is civicengagementradio.com. Now, I want to get back into talking about the other things in the acronym R.E.A.C.H. And just as like a little warm up to what we spoke about before, I was born in Trenton, raised in Ewing public schools, went to college in Philadelphia for art, have a background in fashion. I've worked with some very big players in the fashion industry, Jones, New York, The Limited, The Gap, Lane Bryant. I'm just part of The Limited, The Gap, Jones, New York, Ralph Lauren, Macy's, J.C. Penney, Lord & Taylor, and Edison Brothers. So I've got about 3 decades of experience in the garment industry. I really dig clothes, always have. The whole idea of concept about it, how the fabric is made and processed, colored, dyed, the construction portion of it. I don't have anything on with me right now, but I can show you this cool bag. So I got this bag from Puma. It's a BMW bag, but if you can see on here, there's a print. Well, someone actually takes that print and digitally aligns it so that when it's sewed on, it's straight. Oftentimes, if you look at like a pinstripe suiting, easy way to tell the quality of a pinstripe suit, at least the craftspersonship, is do the lines measure up? Like when they come up, do they come up? Do the lapels, are they all uniform? To do that, I mean, that was the work that I used to do before I left, before Jones, New York restructured, but it was digital CAD drafting. So what we were doing, we were putting on stripe and repeat lines to make sure that when the fabric was cut and it was sewn together, that you would have those, the pinstripes would look like herringbones on a lapel or in the back. It would come together and it would be uniform. We've become a society that doesn't look at that type of skill set in our clothing because we've become a fashion where we outsource so much of our clothing. But those who are into the industry, those who are tailors and sewers, they actually know the importance of doing that. It wastes more fabric and it's more expensive, which is why a lot of people don't do it. But if you pay attention to those things, you can really tell the craftspersonship that has been put into making clothes. Also, something else with that too, while we're talking about clothes, should I do that? Yeah, we'll do. Yeah, I'm gonna keep on talking about clothes real quick. Something else is about sneakers. Sneakers. I'm a big Puma head. I'm a Puma guy. Have been for many, many years. And now that I'm an adult, I'm super into it. That's pretty much all I try to wear. And there's a reason behind it. There's a reason behind it is what the company, the corporation has done. I know many of you remember the iconic 1970s Olympics photo where the athletes were doing the black glove and the black power fist. They were wearing Puma. I think when we look at Jesse Owens and what he did at the Berlin Olympics, although Puma and Adidas were not designed or were not in production at that time, Puma and Adidas are brothers. So that's a family. And their family shoe was on the feet of Jesse Owens. Long story short, the two families went separate ways. Adidas and Puma are brothers. From what I understand, I think their actually factories aren't even that far from each other. Maybe I'll get a chance to get over to Germany and check it out. But I, for one, am a Puma head. for a bunch of different reasons, because of the political stance, one, the quality of the shoe. The Puma suede, the iconic shoe that I wear most of the time, is leather, and it's at a really good price point. So when we start thinking about how much we're spending for footwear and for shoes, we're spending, a lot of times folks are spending hundreds of dollars, and the shoe that they're getting is man-made materials. So of course I would assume the margins are bigger on that, but it's more detrimental, I think, to our society, the plastics and the things that are made. Besides that, I don't know how much better of a shoe it is, too, and also have concerns about the durability and cleanliness. But that's me personally. But that's why I rock Puma. And these particular ones were gifted to me by New Pod City. More on that later. They'll be actually one of the locations for one of my new shows that's coming out, the Jacque Howard podcast, which will be a culmination of all the things that I'm doing, similar to this, but a bit more of a focus on what I'm doing. So we got the fashion portion out of the way. Let's transition now and get back into R.E.A.C.H. I said in one of the previous episodes that R.E.A.C.H, the acronym R.E.A.C.H, R-E-A-C-H, was the pillars that I was basically doing my business under. And they stand for R, recreation, E, the environment, A, art and culture, C, civic engagement, and H, health and nutrition. Earlier, we did a segment on R, which is recreation, and specifically my focuses are on skateboard and also on biking and pedestrian access. And I'm the president of Trenton Cycling Revolution, a 20-year-old nonprofit organization based out of Trenton, New Jersey. And also I am a supporter of freedomnj.org, which is a nonprofit indoor skateboarding or skate park. And we are working together in conjunction for the outdoor skate park here in Trenton, and that's Friends of Amtico Square on Facebook. So if you want to check out more about that, you can hear more detail if you check out the previous video of this one. Now, going over into the environment. Oftentimes people talk about the environment, and I think that me too, we think about the big stuff, global warming, climate change, those things. But something that I've decided to focus on is just what is right here in front of me. We live in a town. Basically, Trenton it's considered a city, but it's really a small town. It's less than 85,000 people, less than 7.4 square miles, 7.2 square miles. It's small. But we have a problem with trash. We've got a problem with trash, illegal dumping. And I want to pull back, and first I want to say that the sanitation workers and stuff that I have met, I'm not saying that I've met all of them, but the ones that come by and service our neighborhood and our house are very friendly. They're very professional. They do a good job. I think that they often do jobs that many of us could not do and probably would not want to do. So I'm going to give a big shout out to them for what they're doing. And my experiences have been good with them. But we have what I want to say, it's a dirty city. Human beings are pretty dirty. We produce a lot of trash. Many of us aren't interested in putting it in trash receptacles or properly disposing of it. It's a lot easier to just let it go, drop it on the ground, leave it for someone else to do. And I think that is a mindset that needs to be addressed. And I personally think that the mindset needs to be addressed at the highest levels of our government here in Trenton. I think that we need to have a very hard campaign, strong campaign that talks about litter, that talks about the environment, and has I don't want to say punishments. I don't like to use that word, but I think that we have to have something that offsets the behavior. And I think that there's a lot of folks who just could care less. I've seen people walking down the street, just throwing lottery tickets into the wind. We have a library box across the street from here. I've seen young people go in and grab a book, start ripping pages out, walking down the street. I've seen workers get food from the local grocery store, which is not their fault. The family supermarket food's fantastic. They've got great takeout services available. I've seen people get the food from there, park their car, eat what they want, and throw the rest of the container on the street. I've also seen people get their food, drive down the street, eating chicken wings and throwing the bones out on the street. So that, to me, I think happens a lot more than we think. And I think that adds to what we see as the filth that is developing here. A lot of times people talk about, not wanting to get sick and things like that. Well, if people recognize that their trash is a big component into how human beings get sick. If you've got a lot of dirt and a lot of filth and you're not taking care of your trash and putting it away properly, and there's bacteria and things of that nature, and you're not cleaning your hands, those things, it's more of a chance you're going to get sick. I don't know if anyone has any ideas about what we can do as far as addressing the trash, the improper disposal of litter, etc. I'm all ears. For many years, I've done lots of cleanups in and around the city of Trenton, and I've seen and heard residents say, "Okay, well, you missed the spot," or "Could you get over here?" instead of coming out and participating. That also leads me to touch quickly on the snow seasons coming up. Who knows if we're going to get some snow or not, but if we do, let's be cognizant of our neighbors. They may come from a community or a country that has never had snow before. They don't know that they got to shovel it. And if you think they're going to buy a shovel, if you can find a shovel. So listen, let's be a little bit more easier about this and recognize that, hey, maybe other people's life experiences haven't been the same. I mean, if you grew up in the Caribbean and you move directly from the Caribbean to Trenton and the winter's coming, there's a pretty good chance that you might not be prepared for it. I mean, we could have some, below 0 days. We could have some hot days. We could have some rainy days, some snow days. I mean, there's a lot that goes into that. So let's just be a bit more neighborly and maybe ask a few more questions and offer up some solutions in this. I also want to touch on the environment with Jacque Van Rossum and the organization that she is a part of, the Green Amendment. She is working nationally to make sure that fair access to everything in nature is available to everyone. And many municipalities and even state agencies don't even have any laws or ordinances on the books to protect us and our green opportunity, which means fresh air, fresh water, land that's untoxic. So I encourage you to check out Jacque Van Rossum of the Green Amendment. You can find her on the social media platform, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And she'll be on the show again soon as I work as one of her media outlets to share what the organization is doing and to encourage folks to be a part of getting involved in the environmentals of their region without trying to do it big and grandiose. That may be a bit much for some folks, but maybe doing something local like, hey, sweeping up in front of your spot or around the block from where you live once in a while, on a regular basis. You'd be surprised. You really would be surprised how that will stimulate and get some of your neighbors involved and encouraged to check some things out. Now, moving on from E, which is the environment, I'm going to A, which is art and culture, R.E.A.C.H, R-E-A, art and culture. So I make stuff. I do make what I consider to be art, whether it's, what's above my shoulder behind me here. I made that in partnership with my son, but that's the kind of stuff that I do. It's colorful. It's based upon 3 spheres, lines, and infinity. It goes on forever. I also like to consider myself a conceptual artist. So the idea is, how does this behind me translate to something else? Does it become wall cover? Does it become a rug? Does it become a skirt? Does it become a t-shirt? Those types of things. So the idea of the art comes to me, and I think about it as a concept when I'm designing and building it. Will this look different on fabric? Will it look different on glass? Will it look different on bronze or on copper? Those types of things is what my art is about. I've been making art for a very long time. I have way more stuff here in this house than I know what to do with. I hope to get to a space where mentally and management wise, I have someone who can assist me with putting this together and coordinating a show so that I can get this out, so that it's not just in my house. It's, other people get to see it, experience it, and hopefully even purchase it. A lot of the art that I work on is found items as well. I'm a big believer that upcycling, repurposing is very important to our society, and I think that it's really a missed opportunity for us to improve what we had or to build upon some of the successes and talents that others have come before me. In my art, I do not have an issue or problem with partnering with anyone or giving them the credit for what they've done. I think that that's also something that's missed in our society, working together. We've been sold this bill of goods of competition. Well, who are you in competition with, and who decided the competition? And most importantly, do you know what the rules are, and are you willing to participate? I think we have people who've grown up in this mindset, they just want to compete. They don't even know what they're competing for or about. They're just willing to compete. Well, I think when we pull back from that mindset, I think that we get a different understanding of what it means. And I think that we get a chance to see who is really pulling the strings. Yeah, I'm a big professional sports fan. When we think about the money, the millions of dollars that the athletes are getting paid, remember, someone's signing their checks. So there's someone who has the ability to have a payroll that is a weekly payroll of thousands or millions of dollars. So they're the people that we need to be having the conversations with, and they're just human beings as well. And oftentimes when we pull back and look at that and say, okay, who are the 32 owners of baseball? Who are the 32 owners of football? Who are the 32 owners of basketball? And we start asking those questions. Well, what do they look like? Where are they from? What are they doing with their money? I think we will get a different perspective of why our society is the way that it is. So I want to go into the tangent. That's kind of stuff we'll talk a bit more on the Jacque Howard podcast. Stay tuned for all the marketing about that. But that's something to keep in mind. We do have the ability to address these different things and to design in the way that we want. A lot of times you just got to ask questions. But the system, I believe, is set up for us to not even recognize what's going on. Just keep doing what you're doing. Keep on sheep. Keep on moving. But we'll talk about that later. Now, as far as art goes, sticking with that, yes, I make art, but that's not really the focus of R.E.A.C.H, my art in R.E.A.C.H. The focus of the art in my R.E.A.C.H is the artists that I spend time with. I have some amazing human beings in my life, and they are very talented in lots of different ways. And I enjoy just spending time around them, seeing them perform, seeing they do what they do, hear them speak, read their books. Big shout out to Dr. Who else do I have here? Oh, Dessa. Big shout out to her. Got a chance to meet her and see her perform recently. So under the art component, I believe that it is my duty to help create an arts marketplace that is digital if it comes to that, but something that's specific to where I am and the people that I know, whether they're performing artists, visual artists, photographers, etc., to purchase their art, to share what I like about their art with others, with the anticipation that maybe they'll buy it as well. I'll give you an example. Oftentimes people will want to decorate their house, right? And they want to decorate their house, and they want it to be different. They want it to be unique. They want it to be them. But they'll go to a store and buy something off the shelf for, let's just say, an amount of money that they could probably get some original art done. Not realizing that, hey, that picture that you put on your wall, that's a print that is unique to you. Well, there's about probably 500,000 copies of that made, and they're throughout the country. And if you wait a little while, you wait 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, the price is going to go down. It's going to drop even further. And then probably in a year or two, you're going to find that, on the curb somewhere or in a thrift store, with a low dollar amount on it. I understand that. I mean, that is a residual effect of how we as a country were developed, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s up into this day. What I'm suggesting is, okay, if you got a budget to go buy art that you want to put into your space, if we had a network where you could go, vetted artists, you could see their work, you could hear their backstory, and then you could coordinate. Hey, I don't have the budget to buy that right now, but can I make payments? Can I have a contract so there's a value that's consistent with this? In that contract, if I sell it, I'm going to let you know where I sell it. Give the artist an opportunity to buy it back. That's part of an arts economy. That's what I think that we really could benefit from here in Trenton and other post-industrial cities that are like Trenton, that have a thriving arts community, a diverse arts community. It's a chance. It's a chance for us to reinvent ourselves and also develop the local economy. No disrespect if you go to a retail store like one of the big chains and so forth. I worked for many of them for many, many years. And so that's how I've survived. But if you take that same dollar and you buy it off of a local artist, like a Trenton-based artist, say Habib Shuab, Wills Kinsley, C.A. Shofed, more than likely, that money's going right back into the local economy. Those artists are probably going to buy or spend money to make more art based upon what they see, which is probably something that they see on their day-to-day lives. Or they're going to enjoy themselves where they live, which is also another thing that we need to get that economy going. Shout out to Buck Malvo, because on First Fridays, Trenton has two, right now I believe there's two First Friday art openings that take place on a regular basis. One is at Trenton Social. Big shout out to TC Nelson. He's been doing it for many, many years over there. Brass Rabbit is the curator now, but before that, big shout out to Vanity, who was doing it prior. Then also Mill Hill Saloon, or Joe's Mill Hill Saloon, or whatever the naming of it is, which is a couple blocks away from Trenton Social, vice versa. Buck does a show there, First Friday show there. It's every month. It increases in the amount of art and the talent that's there, and also it's a happening space. There's live acts that have participated there in the past. It's a nice historic space. It's got a bar. The food's good. So big shout out to Buck Malvo and also Trenton Social for doing the First Friday events, continuing with that. Let's transition and talk a bit about civics. Civics is something that I'm very, very passionate about, of course, and I could probably talk, for an hour just about, some of the different things that I was exposed to. But long and short of it is, I got into, I was introduced to civics as a child and didn't know what it was until, I had some health issues as an adult, left corporate America, started serving on more boards here in the city of Trenton, refocusing or retrenching. And a good friend of mine, and big shout out to him right now. I just had a chance to see him and his lovely wife, Liz, over the weekend, Marty Johnson, and of the Isles organization. So I had met Marty many, many years ago when he was hosting the basketball tournaments. And my uncle through marriage actually partnered with him to do those basketball tournaments and brought in some of the legends that are in the NBA game. Played here. Carmelo Anthony, I believe, played here. I know LeBron played. It's just an amazing opportunity. But anyway, transitioning from that, Marty was really instrumental in asking me a lot of questions, figuring out, what it was that I was passionate about, and helped me to get connected in some spaces. And probably the biggest one is the Building One America Community Organizing National Training Program. Now, when I went to that week-long training that fully immersed in this training about civics and how you do the business of civics, and it just opened my eyes. It was great to see that so much of what I had learned there, I had some information of or some understanding of because of who I was as a person, because of my grandfather, how I was raised, my community, etc. But that gave me tools. Excuse me. That gave me tools for me to implement. One of the first things I did is I started the Civic Association, Franklin Parks Northeast Block Association, with my neighbors, and that was done in 2012, and that is still going strong. So I look at that card over there, that door hanging card. Actually, I'm going to grab it real quick. Actually, we started that in 2011, so we're at 10 years. So I don't know if you can really see it there, but anyway, this door hanger it's done in English and Spanish. And through some information, it's got 10 things on there that talk about what you do as a neighbor or you don't do. Respect the rights of our neighbors to have a decent quality of life, keep the inside and outside of our homes and surrounding community free of litter and weeds, repair damages in accordance with the city laws, observe city ordinances as far as time, as far as noise goes, keeping things quiet after 10 p.m., follow the garbage regulations, observe all laws and prevent open legal alcohol and drug use. This is interesting. Will review and obey all traffic signs to increase traffic safety and parking violations. Extend a helping hand to our neighbors in need is one of them. And then 10 is we'll take part in various neighborhood, police, and community meetings so we can be proactive and not reactive to improving the quality of life in our community. And then there's a handful of helpful telephone numbers on there: animal control, graffiti removal, housing inspections, non-emergency police, pothole street repair, special garbage pickup, and water department. I think I'm gonna have to redo this. That's why we're at over 10 years old in the org. So when we started the civic associations, again, we started to find out, like, how you get things done. How to make sure the roads are getting plowed, if there's an issue with potholes, etc. And this was probably my first slap in the face to politics, because along with this, one of the next things that came up was, who are elected officials. So I was fortunate enough to have George Michelle, who is our elected official, come to our meetings, as well as the Trenton Council of Civic Associations, which is a nonprofit entity. The president and vice president of that organization came to assist us in the development of our civic association. So shout out to Darren Freedom Green and Christine Donahue, who were very instrumental in helping us get started. And we actually ended up winning Civic Association of the Year at the Trenton Council of Civic Associations. So that was pretty cool. But since then, neighborhoods change. So it's not something that you reach a pinnacle and you stop. No, you just have to keep going. You have to keep reinventing yourselves. And I believe that our neighborhood has done that. Most recently, I've had a conversation with a historic cemetery that is located at Liberty and Varoom Street. It's the Brothers of Israel congregation. Now, I'm not Jewish. I don't have anybody in my family that worships in the Jewish faith, and that cemetery is historic. I don't even think that anyone's been buried there probably since, at least for multiple decades. But it's an area that has a lot of traffic. So people often walk by, and again, we have the issues with the trash and with illegal dumping, etc. So I reached out to the Brothers of Israel congregation, and a big shout out to Eric, who reached back out to me. He is one of the chairs of the cemetery committee. They've got 2 in the area. So we're going to be working with him to address some of the things. They've done a good job with keeping it, painted, and gate painted, and new lights and sign. But there's an issue we have to address further with the trash and being respectful to this burial place, this burial ground. So through civic engagement, I will be doing whatever I can to assist the Brothers of Israel and the neighbors of Franklin Park to make sure that that space is safe, it's clean. It is a tourist site, a tourist attraction, so to speak, and that the folks who go there and do wrong things, that they pay the consequences for that. We'll see how that goes. Just keep me posted. If you'd like to be a part of that, just make sure that you reach out to me on the website, jacque-howard.com. Now, going into sticking in civics, is I want to talk about the faith community. I often touch a little bit on faith and what I do with faith, but I'm often not like out front, like proselytizing. I mean, I worship at Westminster Presbyterian Church. I am a Christian. I am a ruling elder in PC USA, and my family and I, we've been serving at Westminster for, well over a decade. And the time there, one of the reasons why we like worshiping there is the involvement in the community and focusing on the residents who are not just the residents, but the residents around the actual church structure, and the surrounding communities. One of the things that we talk about is seeking the shalom of the city, the peace of the city. And to do that, you need to be involved. To do that, you need to be active. You need to be engaged. You need to know people. They need to know you. And Pastor Karen Hernandez Granson, senior pastor, is someone who's well recognized for her work in the Latino Hispanic community, but also with working with women and different populations. And at Westminster, we have a true open policy, meaning you come through those doors, you're coming through those doors to worship God. We're not putting any judgments on you. We're not concerned about what you may be concerned about. We're trying to be in the right space spiritually so that you can get what you need, so that God can speak to you, so that God can work in your life, so that your life can be what you want it to be, the best that it can be. It's going to happen overnight. Anyone who's a Christian will tell you it don't work that way. Anyone who's a Christian or anyone who's a person of faith will tell you it don't work that way. Just because you are a person of faith or you feel you're doing what you're supposed to be doing absolutely is not a precursor that you won't have any problems. Which is why I'm here to talk to you as well, to tell you that, yo, stuff happens. Things, you can have the best plans, etc. It might not work. And I'm also thankful that I've learned that too, worshiping at Westminster, is that once we pray over, once we put this out, the results are the results of what they are. It's not about perfection, it's about adoration. It's not about perfection, it's about adoration. And I'm fortunate enough that's something that resonates with me and my family. So I'm just always trying, live my life, do the best that I can. Hopefully it works. And, sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. I make mistakes, but I'm plugging along, right? So I encourage you to come over and worship with us. And we've got a bunch of really cool things that are going on. Our services are at 11 a.m. We do meet in person. We are masked up. 11 a.m. masked up. COVID restrictions are in effect. We're located at 1140 Greenwood Avenue in Trenton, New Jersey. It's right off of, Alden Avenue. If you're taking Alden, if you're riding south on Alden, you make a right on Greenwood. The church is literally the third building there. It's next to a Haitian deli and a Chinese restaurant, big white pillars up front. Worship starts at 11. We are multicultural, multi-generational. So we sing in different languages. We worship in different languages. And we have everyone involved in the service, from our children to our seasoned population. And we also provide an opportunity to talk about what's going on in your personal life. If there's a joy that you'd like to share or concern, or you'd like to have someone pray over you, we have those abilities as well. Excuse me. 1K Church Initiative. Now, we have this awesome relationship with Nassau Presbyterian Church in Princeton. We're both PCUSAs, but we come from different demographics and different backgrounds as congregations. So the important thing is that we work together. And when I say we work together, it's if you need these different things to make something a success, if all those things are looked at equally, we have one equal successful goal. Oftentimes, Nassau may be able to provide or bring certain things to the partnership that Westminster can do the other portions of. So we've got a very long relationship of working with Nassau, but also other partners, which is also the precursor to how I do Trenton 365 and the work that I do in media. We are always open for partners. And when I say open for partners, I mean, that's fair, honest, equitable, and equal partnerships. Same voice across the table. You may be bringing this, but I'm bringing this. If we're both bringing a little bit of it, then let's put it together and make something special of it. So keep that in mind going forward. This isn't a space where, you parachute in and you do something and then you bounce out. No, it's long-term, it's relationship driven. And if that's what you're seeking for your organization or your agency or your idea, then, Westminster and Trenton 365, we can absolutely talk about that and try to facilitate that. Now, we've partnered with Nassau, and we've started with a national organization called 1K Churches. And what we're doing is we're funding micro loans or micro grants, so to speak. Now, I'm not going to get into all the details of the technical side of it, but the long and short of it is we have some resources, financial resources, personal power, and skill sets that we're using to work with entrepreneurs who are returning citizens, and to assist them in their businesses. We have a wonderful team of people who are working on this. We have a steering committee, of which I am a part of, that is working directly with getting funding to local businesses and to entrepreneurs who were formerly incarcerated, and to assist them in bettering their situation, improving their business, and being there with them as a long-term customer. So more on that later, but you can find out more by heading over to Westminster Presbyterian Church. The website, we have a website that's coming up for 1K churches, which we're going to get someone local to work on doing that as well. Local economy. But if you have some questions about that, you can also send me an email. And my email address is Trenton, like the city, the numbers 365, and the word show. Trenton365show@gmail.com. And we'll get back to you as far as that goes. Now, finishing up with R.E.A.C.H, at least for right now, is H, and that's health and nutrition. Now, health and nutrition, even when I was starting, I was like, man, dude, that's like so basic. Like, yeah, everybody's going to be concerned and want to talk about health and nutrition. But I really have to say that I was led, and I want to say it was by God. It was like, not like you are. Took me a little while to hear that. So I'm talking about my situation, my health and my nutrition. I am out front speaking about mental health and the mental health challenges. My mother was second generation of dying from Alzheimer's and dementia. I saw my grandfather die from that terrible, horrible disease. He lived with us while I was in high school, my high school years. So I saw him, basically deteriorate from this badass man, who was the king of his village, to basically back to his childhood. I saw the effects that had on my mother and her siblings, how it pulled the family in different directions. And I remember conversations with her that she didn't want her children, my siblings, to go through that if she went in that direction. My mom is no longer with us, just over a year now, and I think about her often. But I also think about, the lessons and things that she taught me, because most of us, and we don't realize what our parents are teaching us until they're not there. So I'm learning more and more of these lessons, just from the food that she introduced me to, the cakes that maybe aren't as sweet, or the food that's not as processed, or how to prepare for death. I'll be talking to you more and more about that as I bring on my insurance agents to talk about, get yourself some life insurance, whatever it is, man. You got $20 a month. Get yourself some life insurance. It's going to protect your family. Give them a chance to level up. If you can do something like that, it's going to make a huge, huge difference in the life of anyone that you have behind. And even if you don't have any children, you don't have any siblings, you don't have any family, get a policy and get a $20,000 policy and put it on someone or in a nonprofit organization that you like the work that they're doing. You'd be surprised how much it will really help out and how it can really benefit others. So yeah, I'll be talking more about my mental health, where I am with it. I'm in a good space right now, hallelujah. But mental health, dementia, Alzheimer's, the effects that it has on society, connecting you with others who can teach you and can show you skills and techniques to navigate this sometimes often difficult space. In addition to that, I am out front and doing a lot of speaking about cannabis. And when I talk about cannabis, I mean, I want it to be very clear that this is not just for stoners. I think that there's a mindset, that people think about, like, okay, Cheech and Chong and, some of the other movies where people are just getting smoked out, eating bags of Doritos and just vegging out. Okay, cool. I get that. But look at it from this way. I mean, you know who Cheech and Chong is. Remember, they were doing those movies in the 70s. You know who they are now. So if you're thinking about it from the financial standpoint, okay, just think about that. Cheech and Chong, I would assume, are pretty wealthy right now. And I'm sure they put a lot of people on with the work that they have done. I'm going to be speaking about it from my personal, I am going to be speaking about it from my personal perspective, because I think that's the most important thing. I come to you how I am, which is why I look the way I do. And you see me when I'm out, I'm the same way you see me here. My personal experiences with cannabis are going to be talked about in an ongoing series, a booklet that I have coming out either later this year, probably first quarter 2021. And it's called My Black Cannabis Experience. The reason why I chose that is for a few reasons. One, I'm affiliated and I'm one of the executives with the Black Cannabis organization. So it's also called BC Worldwide. So we do consulting for cannabis and for people who want to get into the cannabis space, but we're also looking to have a dispensary as well. In addition to that, we do events, networking events, and we have a line of CBD. Let me get that. We have a line of Cbd Pain Cream. Now, this Cbd Pain Cream is known as Daga Noir. It is 500 milligrams, 500 milligrams of pain relieving cream. So it's a topical. So for those who have like arthritic pain or muscle pain or something like that, this would work for you. I don't talk about products that I don't use, even if our name is on it. If it was whack, I wouldn't promote it. This is a good product. My family uses it. I've got some friends who use it as well. You can head over to the website black-cannabis.com and order it there, or you can reach out to me and we'll connect something for you to get some details on the particulars of it. So with Black Cannabis, I'm known as the voice of Black Cannabis, and also the face, because I do a lot of the shows, but there's plenty of other people who are around who are part of this this family, this network, and there's some videos of them. So if you do a Jacque Howard Black Cannabis or Jacque Howard Cannabis search, you should be able to see the videos and things that are up. But I remember in my earliest, like, knowing this plant, it was just kind of there. Like, whether it was like friends who had siblings who had weed or a joint or something like that, we would smoke it, when we were kids. And I don't remember any of the experiences not being fun or joyful. That's just me. As we got older, the war on drugs and all those different things, and focusing on school and hearing the messages about, hey, you shouldn't do this. This is your brain on drugs kind of thing. Probably did a good job of preventing me and others from continuing to use cannabis. It wasn't until, I'd say, after college that, when the market started opening a bit more out Midwest, I started getting on my radar. And I talked to a few friends who were out in Arizona and Colorado and so forth. And they had mentioned to me, hey, man, you should really get into this. It's going to be pretty awesome, et cetera, et cetera. But I was still like, no, it's the devil's weed, that kind of mindset, and I didn't get involved. And it wasn't until I, had some, mental health issues on my own and started looking at alternative treatments as opposed to pharmaceuticals, and started, going in a little deeper and a little deeper. And then I started asking the question, like, cannabis and racism, marijuana and racism, and doing an internet search for cannabis or marijuana and racism blew my mind. To find that at the highest levels of our government, the federal government, they were using means to hold people back, to destroy families and communities because of this plant. And I believe right around that time, I heard, some pastors, who were speaking out on it as well. And I started spending some time with my man Flip Marley, Phil Charles. Of at the time he was at NJ Weedman spot, and he was always, I was going there for like, you know, videotaping, interviewing Ed NJ Weedman, Ed Fortune. And Flip would always be there talking to me about cannabis. Man, you should get involved in this. It's opportunity, you know, long term. It's not what you think it is, et cetera, et cetera. And then finally, after doing some research, I sat down and started chatting with him and developed this wonderful friendship and relationship. And he asked me to be a part of Black Cannabis. And I guess it's been about 3-4 years now. I've been running with Black Cannabis, sharing my expertise and my knowledge about this plant, my experiences with this plant, and then merging my experiences as, you know, an organizer, as a radio, TV, media host, as a personality, to further the mission of it. And I think that there's many people who have no idea about what's going on just because it's not on their radar. And I get that. But I encourage you to get it on your radar for several different perspectives, points. One, it's a plant. It's native to this planet. It's natural, it's organic. It grows between this longitude and latitude plane across the planet. So for those who are faith believers, you have to say that this is something that God has allowed to be on this planet, on this planet. Okay, that's what I believe. One. From the faith community, and I'm going to be having these conversations as well, is when we start talking about the racism and the social justice standpoint, the mass incarceration, when we start pulling back and realizing that people have been arrested and locked up and had their lives drastically changed for a plant, for a seed. And understand that people will say, oh, well, it's illegal. They shouldn't have did it. Okay. I'm sure most of you who drive with on your cell phone. I'm sure most of you who walk through neighborhoods probably jaywalk once in a while. And I'm sure there'll be people who'll say, oh, well, the comparisons are different. It's apple and oranges. Is it really? No one has ever died from cannabis usage. Again, when we speak and we just regurgitate things that we heard, as opposed to doing some research on our own, we find out some different information. I, for one, like to dig a little deeper. And I'm encouraging you to dig a little deeper as well. And I think it's important for you to dig a little bit deeper and to consider what you want for the world and the community that you live in. Are you living by his story, his tradition? Or is this something that you really are passionate about, that you really believe in? Or are you just doing it because someone else did it? I'm going to finish up with this joke I heard. So, newlyweds have a ham, making it for dinner. Wife cuts the ends of the ham off, throws them away, cooks the ham. After a while, husband was like, why do you do this? She said, I don't know, my mom always did it. Okay. He asked the mother-in-law, why do you cut the ends of the ham off? Mother-in-law says, I don't know, my mom always did it. All right, so there were grandma. Hey, grandma, we always love how you cook this wonderful ham and so on and so forth. Why do you cut the ends of the ham off? Because the pan I had was too small. 2 generations of people cutting the ends of the ham off, thinking that's the right thing to do instead of asking a question, throwing away all that meat, all that pork. I'm Jacque Howard, and I am your independent micro media agency. I know you've had those experiences where you sent a press release to the newspaper and they spelled the name wrong or got a date wrong or it didn't even print, and they charged you a lot of money. A lot of money. Well, I'm here to tell you that you've got an option. It is before the end of 2021. Price is going up in 2022. So if you want to get in, you can get in now. got this amazing opportunity for you to partner with me. You'll have an independent spokesperson who will work with your agency, your calls, your business, et cetera, design a plan for you. We'll get some social media access. We'll set you up with some interviews. And for additional costs, we can do some things like getting you advertising and radio and TV exposure as well. You got to pay extra for that. Creation of some PSAs, blog posts, and things of that nature. Don't miss this opportunity because you think you know what budgets and things are like. Don't front. You stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Get in touch. My name is Jacque Howard. I'm known as the voice of Black cannabis. And I want you to remember, it's always about justice, peace, and humility.